You're like that coffee machine, you know, from bean to cup, you fuck up.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about why Microsoft must really hate Halo. So here's some numbers for you. Microsoft are the largest software maker in the world. They have 144,000 employees, operate in over 100 countries, and produce enterprise software used by every single one of the Fortune 500 companies. Last year, they generated $168 billion in revenue and currently have a market capitalization of $2.21 trillion. They recently announced an intention to spend $68 billion buying Activision for a gaming division expected to lead the Microsoft charge into an industry-wide change to subscription models, game streaming, and most importantly for Microsoft right now,
the metaverse.
All of which I mentioned to underline the curious case of the slowly emerging clusterfuck that is the launch of Halo Infinite.
I see you. You're a fucking omni-shambles, that's what you are.
A game with a 10-year lifespan, but launched without a roadmap to see it through its first few months. A game delayed by a year because it wasn't ready, and now that it has been released, what's clear is that it needed even more development time. The development problems have been well documented at this point, as have the problems with the game, but the highlights or lowlights post-launch for me are a lack of multiplayer content. Now, this really is unforgivable in a game with such excellent combat mechanics. Plan your events, drop your rewards, reward your players for their support, and build hype, momentum, and anticipation for everything else you want to release. What did we get? Cat ears, Halo rings, fire emojis, all that shit. A lack of anti-cheat which destroys trust. So I can't tell you the number of times a better player than me has the upper hand or run up a big score, and all I can think of is this guy cheating? This is a new experience for Halo players and it's completely unwelcome. Desync and lag issues, most embarrassingly in their own Pro League LAN events.
Pretty much the worst possible scenario for a gaming tournament occurred. Random, seemingly unfixable crashes.
Broken big team battle for months on end with little proactive communication as to why it was happening or what was being done to address it. For a game so shallow in content to have such a major feature unplayable is an embarrassment for a software company like Microsoft. A shallow and forgettable campaign. Now, I know this is subjective, but I've completed it and I honestly can't remember the point of the campaign other than to replace Cortana with a new model and soft reboot everything else. No Forge. Now, ironically, if this had been present, the aforementioned lack of content would have been fixed by the dedicated user community, forging new maps and game modes. No campaign co-op. Another Halo staple, missing at launch and with no timeline for delivery other than it's coming in Season 2, and that looks like it's likely to be delayed as well. No campaign playlist. Now what we have right now is a massive, open and empty world, so other than to go in and try and blow things up like Mint Blitz, there's very little to do. Exploration and random encounters are fun for a bit, but they don't keep you coming back in a way that jumping back into a campaign mission would. And a PC port which is incredibly buggy. I won't say too much at this time because my experience on PC has been pretty good, but for those it affects it seems like it's pretty bad. For many, Halo is Xbox. Master Chief is literally on the fucking box. So, you would think that this game, this franchise, this cultural event would have garnered slightly more interest from the bigwigs at Microsoft HQ. They intend to spend $68 billion bolstering a gaming division which can't even ship a complete game for their highest profile franchise. This game should be the pinnacle of what Microsoft hopes to achieve in the gaming space. It should be afforded every chance with the best engineers, writers and designers put to work by a management team with a clear multi-year creative vision and clearly communicated timescales for delivering content as to what is supposed to be a live service game.
Are you serious?
What's clear from this launch is that none of these things are present. This game feels like it's been hamstrung, not only by development issues exacerbated by the global pandemic, but what looks like a financial decision to make the game open world, which gives Microsoft the ability to plug in add-ons or seasonal challenges and extensions and monetize these in a way that a linear campaign does not. Is this an overly ambitious attempt to turn Halo into a platform, if such a thing is possible? All of this instead of sticking to a tried and tested linear campaign with a strong story that lives on after you've completed it and creates passion for your franchise, bolsters the multiplayer experience, and creates kudos for your entire gaming platform. Narratively speaking, this game has a feeling of creative bankruptcy which plagues a lot of modern franchises. Don't let Halo just become more content, just an endless stream of seasonal DLC with ever more convoluted plots as the writers produce ever more creative ways to squeeze more life out of the characters, environments and scenarios they've been left with, all of which will earn Microsoft plenty of money and may even get more people playing, but I'm not sure they'll hold any great affection for the franchise in the long term. By going down this road, you're creating customers and not lifelong fans of your work. Halo CE is still revered by those that played it when it first came out and continue to play it via the MCC. Not because the game is a technical marvel or has aged brilliantly, because it hasn't, but because the narrative is inventive and clever in ways designed to stay with you long after you finish the game. Compare the freshness of the CE campaign, a simple story with engaging dialogue, a great sidekick, a complex enemy, and a twist no one saw coming. Every step of the way we saw something new. With Infinite, we get a pastiche of previously used ideas and a campaign designed only to wipe the slate clean so that we can start again for a new generation of players. The gameplay is fun and it feels like Halo, but let's face it, it's the ultimate in soft reboots. The original is beloved by OG players. Will the same be said for Infinite? I'm sure some will love it forever as their first Halo experience, but my fear is it will be seen in the same light as a FIFA or yearly John Madden release, just more yearly filler. So how do they fix it? Well, Halo Infinite should have been developed with a multi-year roadmap from its inception. This should be clearly communicated to the fans or paying customers with a series of regular monthly game updates until all remaining bugs have been ironed out. This is basic project and stakeholder management, and Microsoft are currently failing at both. This game needs a fresh creative vision, planned out, even if just at an elevated level, from start to finish, which builds season on season over several years, bringing players back for more with each new release. Does anyone want to bet that right now there's no overarching story planned out? They're just making things up as they go along and will make changes based on what sells and what doesn't. If they get the narrative problems sorted, they'll find everything else hangs together much more coherently. Microsoft have taken what should have been a victory parade for Halo fans and turned it into a rain-soaked slog through litter-strewn streets. How many of us will be left at the end of the journey? Of course, Halo will be around for a long time yet, and I'll continue to play it until it's no longer enjoyable, but this game feels like they've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. The multiplayer preview was so much fun, and the early reviews were so positive that had you told me the situation we would be in a few months after launch, I would have struggled to believe you. Xbox and Microsoft are bigger than one game and bigger than the Master Chief, but when you tarnish the reputation of your most loved franchise, the damage is hard to calculate. Reputational damage is corrosive and long-lasting. Your biggest fans become your biggest critics.
I'm sorry, but Halo is so boring right now.
And the trust is hard to get back. There's an X factor to these things, and if Microsoft aren't careful, Halo will become a toxic franchise which only the dedicated few will want to associate. One final thought to finish on. Is 343 Industries fit for purpose?
Unqualified leadership. Upper management has little to no idea how a game is made.
They've yet to release a campaign the community can get on board with. Every campaign they've released has been plagued by narrative conveniences, odd choices, confusing marketing, or stories with no overarching plan. Each multiplayer release has seen game-breaking technical issues and missing content which are slowly breaking the will of the community. So is it time to scrap this organisation and start again? What will Microsoft do when the Halo community's biggest cheerleaders move on and cover other games because of frustrations never addressed over years of feedback from multiple botched releases? I hope we never find out.